Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
And the crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Ah, shit.
America is football. Football
America
is America.
football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass
For the moment in time. I don't give a damn.
Oh my god!
No!
You loved it.
30-27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30-20. Woo! What a Friday to be a Bears fan. What a Friday to be a Bears fan. Where do I even begin? Well, there's only one place to begin. The Bears seem to be Indiana state bound. And I don't know why. Nash, Hammond, Bears, it seems to be that way, yes, sir. So the Bears today put out a statement, and to be more specific, Bears chairman George H. McCaskey, grandson of George Halas, and president and CEO Kevin Warren, who was hired on to the Bears as president and CEO back in 23, put out a statement today, and I will read that statement verbatim. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears Board of Directors met and voted to advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana, with the exact site to be selected. We believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region, connecting Northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the Loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and businesses. End quote. Kevin Warren has it out for Chicago. Kevin Warren, Bears president and CEO, has it out for Chicago. Now, do not get me wrong. I was excited when the Bears hired Kevin Warren to be the Chicago Bears president and CEO, because Ted Phillips was just a businessman. He was just a suit pretending to know what football was. Kevin Warren was the CEO or whatever to the Big Ten. And so he was around football at least. He kind of knew what was going on for the most part, football-wise. And thank you to everybody here in the comments. Appreciate all you guys saying hello. Make it the Burlington Bears. Hello, Gianni and Elise, Jack Nitro Burst, and Marley. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining me here on Only Football. Kevin Warren has it out for Chicago. It seems this entire last year, including last season, there has been just the worst timing by Kevin Warren in terms of giving updates on the stadium, on the Bears in general. And it's been mostly bad news. Jack, do you think a new mayor will help? No, I don't think a new mayor will help. Brandon Johnson, the current mayor of Chicago, believe me, there's a lot of blame to go around to the mayor, to Governor Pritzker, to the state legislators of Illinois, to the Bears. And I'm going to try my best to kind of break it down on this stream. But will a new mayor help? I don't think it'll. I think it might be a Band-Aid. I think it might be easier to work with them. Who knows? But really, I don't think so. Now, Kevin Warren we have been talking about a new stadium ever since the Bears acquired Arlington Heights, the racetrack, ever since they purchased it from Churchill Downs. They bought like a 326-acre piece of land in Arlington Heights, Illinois, to create basically what everybody else in the NFL has, a dome stadium and entertainment, hotels, restaurants around that area. It's no longer a stadium and parking spaces. It is an entire ecosystem of football itself around a lot of these stadiums now. That's been the plan ever since they purchased that. They brought in Kevin Warren to try to do his best to try to forward that and really put the plan in action. And ever since there, it has been just they go this way and then they go this way. So at first, they brought in Kevin Warren. And one of the first things he said was, we're going to try to build a stadium in Chicago next to Soldier Field. Daniel Barry, what's up? Happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed. I wish it was a happier Friday. So he came in, said, let's build a stadium next to Soldier Field. And Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, was very ecstatic about it. Like, let's keep the Bears in Chicago on the lakefront. And then the tune kind of changed a bit. Kevin Warren said, well, now we're thinking about Arlington Heights because the Bears and Friends of the Park of Chicago, they're not basically giving them what they want, and that's tax incentives. That is, in a sense, evading property taxes that they wouldn't have to pay. Some property tax guarantees, I believe, is the phrase that they're using. Then it was, let's build a roof over Soldier Field to make it dome-like, almost open air, like you see the Rams and the Chargers in LA kind of have. And now it was back to Arlington Heights, and now Indiana, Northwest Indiana, Hammond, Indiana to be specific, is in the mix and in the picture. And now they passed legislature back in February about stadium. I forget the term, stadium. Oh my God, what's the word? Stadium. I'm gonna look it up here because it's been in so many of these things that I've read. Kelvin, hey bro, what's up? My first time getting pegged tonight. Any advice? Just let it be. Just let it be. Have you ever shit your pants once as an adult, once as a child? I forget the exact term for this, but basically it's a committee of cities in Cook County and other places in Indiana specifically where they can create their own stadium committee. And basically what they're trying to do with that is say, hey, the legislature is that we will allow you to buy or use public land that belongs to the city to build your stadium. And you can do whatever you want. And then after a certain amount of time, they sell it back to the Bears to avoid a lot of those property taxes, which over the years during construction can build up because you are going to be paying taxes on that property. And so Indiana passed that back in February, basically opening the door and saying to the Bears, do what you will with the land we provide you, and you won't have to pay 1 cent in property taxes or a very, very discounted amount of property taxes, which is what the Bears have been looking for this entire time. That's why they went to Arlington Heights. That's why Chicago wasn't giving it to them, or why they went to Arlington Heights, because Chicago wasn't really giving them that information or those tax incentives, property tax incentives. So Indiana basically opened the door, and Hammond, Indiana is the location in which the statement was referring to today. That's where they want to go with this. Now, there has been tons of time for the city of Chicago, whether it be the mayor or the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, to come up with a plan to be able to satiate both the Bears and the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, within those terms. Now, I caught an interview, a podcast interview on CHGO. Fox writer, yes, I agree with you. On CHGO, which covers the Bears damn near exclusively, with Mayor Brandon Johnson and with one of the senators of Illinois. And they were basically saying, like, we have tried our best to do this. The Chicago Bears are not they're basically not wiggling in terms of this conversation here. They haven't told us exactly what they wanted. And yet somehow Indiana does know what they wanted, which is why they created the legislature in order to bring them to Indiana. So I'm not sure what the mayor was talking about in terms of we don't know what they want, when it was pretty clear to everyone what they wanted. I say that because I hate the Bears and live in Indiana. Believe me, you guys have the Colts. You guys are fine. And the Knicks win. Yeah, the Knicks did just win game 2. The Knicks are gonna sweep the Spurs. Wemby's going home without a championship. Knicks are winning this game, this series 4-0. So I don't know who to believe, because in Illinois, if you're from Illinois or you are familiar with Illinois, you know that the politics there are messed up. They sold the rights to their parking, their tollways to Saudi Arabia in a 75-year deal for pennies. For pennies. What Saudi Arabia paid for that, the rights to that, for the money and all that, back in the early 2000s when we still had Mayor Daley Jr., the second, whatever, they've already gotten that and more on top of that. So they're only printing money. So, and then Blagojevich, all that stuff in Illinois, the politicians are corrupt in Illinois. Not to say that Mayor Brandon Johnson or anybody else is very corrupt now. I don't know. I live in Washington State now. I haven't really put too much attention into it. But it is hard to believe that Mayor Brandon Johnson is saying that on a podcast when the Bears have been, in my opinion, more or less clear on what they want, and that is to not pay property taxes. They want to own the stadium outright as well. That's what they want. The Bears have never owned their own stadium. They moved from Decatur to Chicago in 1921. When they were in Decatur in 1920, moved to Chicago in 1921, played in Wrigley Field until 1970 when they built Soldier Field. But because Soldier Field was built on Chicago Public Parks land, they never owned it. They built the stadium. They moved there to play football. They get the money from concessions, things like that. But they can't build outside of that stadium what they want and what a modern day stadium for an NFL team has. And that is hotels, that is restaurants, casinos, sports bars, sports betting, now that it has been legalized for a decade or so now. That's what they want to do. So they've been pretty clear. That's not to say that the Bears are far from blame from this. They want money. They want public money as well, or at least that's kind of what they've said. They want public money in order to build the stadium. Fuck you, first of all. How dare you? You guys are a billion-dollar organization. You guys can print money. And I'm not saying, like, you guys can print more money if you had your own land and all that stuff. But you guys are making a lot of money. The Bears make a lot of money. So to want taxpayer dollars is ridiculous. So they're not far from blame from this either. Going back to Kevin Warren. He was crucial in building that new stadium for the Minnesota Vikings, which he also did something similar to what the Bears are doing now, which is he bluffed and said, we're going to build in the northern suburbs of wherever the Minnesota Vikings stadium is. Then let me look this up exactly. Vikings Stadium, US Bank Stadium. That is in Minneapolis. So it's in Minneapolis, what I expected. I just didn't want to be wrong. I was going to say Minneapolis. I just didn't want to be wrong. So they were going to build it in Auburn Hills, something in the north suburbs. Where is it? Andover. something like that. Somewhat of a bluff. They had made an announcement of it that we're going to be building here, that the mayor of that town or whatever was very happy that they're going to build here and there. And then what happened a few months later? They didn't. They had built a new stadium in Minneapolis, and that's where the Vikings are playing now. So Kevin Warren is no stranger to bluffing his way into getting what he wants. You have to respect that a bit because a businessman is a businessman. And that's what they do. And he's been around the block and he knows exactly kind of what to do. So to put out this statement on Friday, for him, it's like another day for him. But it does seem to be very, very much, very, very likely that Indiana is going to be the Hammond, Indiana is going to be the next stadium built for the Chicago Bears. Hammond, Indiana is right next. It touches the border of Illinois. It's 25 miles south of Soldier Field, which, depending on traffic, 30, 40-minute drive when you take 94 down south. So while they will be close to the south side of Chicago, they will not be in Illinois. They'll be closer to Chicago, actually, the city limits of Chicago, than I believe, or at least the closer to where Soldier Field is than Arlington Heights, the site of Arlington Heights is. Technically, it is closer, only 25 miles. Now, the thing that bothered me a little bit about this statement, well, one thing that kind of piqued my kind of made me the Brian Morton horse. With the exact site to be selected. Now that leaves a lot of question marks in a sense for that right there. They know the location, Hammond, Indiana. What they don't know is the exact site to be selected. Now there's a golf course right around Wolf Lake, I believe. I forget the name of the golf course. They'll have to pump out the water. It's an 18-hole golf course. They'll have to pump out the water, even up the land, do what they need to do, build underground, a basement, what have you. There's a lot of land on golf courses. I'm sure all you guys know how big a freaking golf course is. They can make the room. They've got the money and they can do all these things. And they're showing it on the TV right now at the end of the finals. Where the site was what site was offered to them by Indiana. But with the exact site to be selected, there's only one place they can build, and that's in that golf course. When you look at Indiana on maps, whatever, you zoom out, I got to tell you guys, Hammond, Indiana is shaped like a giant L. Do you know why Hammond, Indiana is shaped like a giant L? Because there's losers in Indiana. And that's not to say everybody in Indiana is a loser. But this is just me being angry as a Bears fan. Hammond, Indiana is shaped like a giant L. That's where you want to put the Chicago Bears? That's where you want to put the Chicago Bears? In a city that is shaped like a giant L? What are you saying to the fans where you want to put your team in a city where its city limits are in the shape of a giant L for loser? The other thing that really pissed me off was we believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region, connecting Northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. That bothered me. That bothered the hell out of me. Don't talk about Indiana connecting the south side of Chicago through the loop all the way up to the north suburbs. No, absolutely the fuck not. That is some BS businessman, politician bullshit speak. They're trying to frame it as this. We're still technically in Chicagoland. It's Chicago and everything else. That's what that is. And if you're from Chicago, you know it to be like that. When they say Chicagoland, what they try to do is group these suburbs, group these other parts of the state in with Chicago to make it seem like, oh, it's, it's still Chicago, but I'm from Naperville, but I'm from Skokie, but I'm from name a suburb. It's not Chicago. It is not. I hate that they put that in there. We're going to connect all this. You don't need to connect it. Go to Arlington Heights if you want. At the end of the day, honestly, when all this news was coming out a couple of years ago or however long about Arlington Heights, I was saying, sure, let's move to Arlington Heights. Because look, at the end of the day, whether the Bears or whether the city of Chicago decides to build a roof over Soldier Field to make it a dome completely closed off, the Bears can't do anything outside of that stadium. They can't. And that's what they are looking for in this entire project, new stadium project. Mile High in the chat. Go Denver. We want the Bears to stay in Illinois. Same, Mile High, same. Thank you for saying that because I do too. So I was very adamant about being like, you know what? It is going to be in Arlington Heights. Back when it was between Arlington Heights and Chicago, I said, build it in Arlington Heights. You got 320 some acres to build hotels, casinos, sports books, restaurants, clubs, nightlife, the stadium, obviously. You got transportation that can go up there. Fine. As long as it stays in Illinois. As soon as Indiana came into the conversation, I was one of those people who said, no way. There's no way the Bears are moving to Indiana. They've been part of Chicago for over 100 years. They were crucial, mostly George Halas, but the Chicago Bears, they were crucial in the NFL being what it is today, creating the NFL. Honestly, they were one of the original teams in the NFL. So no, they're not moving to Chicago. There's no freaking way they're moving out or moving outside of Illinois. Outside of Chicago, I could see that. But Kevin Warren has this knack of just giving out these pieces of dog shit information at the worst times. There was several times over the last season, I think it was like prior to the Packers game in the playoffs or prior to the week 16 Packers game, prior to the Black Friday game, where they were just putting out this information about the stadium updates. And it's like, dude, we're about to play a playoff game against our rival Packers. And this is the information you put out at this time. Fast forward to today, days, hours after Caleb Williams was announced as the Madden 2027 cover athlete, he puts out this statement about moving to Hammond, Indiana, connecting Hammond, Indiana through the south side of Chicago, through Chicago Loop, all the way up to the north suburbs. And I'm just like, the timing of this guy. I don't know if he understands any of this as a business person, because people in business, they just don't get this kind of stuff. They really don't. That's why you have PR. That's why you have a marketing team, a PR team, people who know when to do this stuff. PR team for the Chicago Bears has got to be like, oh my God, like this guy's just like, and he's a CEO. When a CEO tells you to do something, guess what? You're going to do it. You're not going to say no to him. Unfortunately, even a team of people can't say no to a CEO for an NFL organization. But his timing on this stuff is ridiculous. It is stupid and it's just reckless to Bears fans and honestly to the team, to its players, to its coaches, to its staff. It creates a sense, it creates an environment of stress. It really does. As someone who's been for a very small amount of time in a company that has gone corporate, it creates stressful environments to have to do certain things, to be told to do certain things, to be given a list of certain expectations. It creates a stressful environment. Now, I wasn't a part of that environment for very long afterwards, but those first couple weeks are stressful. So the PR team has got to be going crazy. Again, you do this right after Caleb Williams becomes not only the first Bear to grace the cover of Madden, but the first Bears quarterback. The first Bears quarterback to be on the cover. The Bears have a quarterback on the cover of Madden. The Bears have a quarterback who seems to be the franchise quarterback of this team for the first time in forever, since Sid Luckman, probably. And then he decides to put out this statement. Now, George H. McCaskey obviously has something to do with this. And I don't know how much. Obviously, he's the chairman, owner of the team. He has a lot to say. I wonder how much of this he's putting into the hands of Kevin Warren. I wonder what Kevin Warren is saying to him, that George McCaskey is just like, yeah, man, go for it. That's fine. We got a fish, dude. Gives new meaning to Super Bowl shuffle. They're shuffling their ass right out of Chicago. It's so bad. Are you a Bears fan? We got a fish, dude. Just asking, just because that comment, it's so bad. Like yes, it is. So I don't know. Kevin Warren, like, again, he has done a lot of great things for the Big Ten, for the Vikings, obviously with their brand new stadium that looks awesome. But he just does not have a great sense of timing with these announcements, with these updates. It is just infuriating. Now, the one thing when I read the statement with the exact site to be selected, when I read that first thing in the morning, I was like, it's a little open-ended there with the exact site to be selected. Again, you look at Hammond, Indiana, there's only one site that they can go. There's only one piece of land that's big enough to really give the Bears what they want, what Arlington Heights can give them. And with that being said, Courtney Cronin, who's an ESPN reporter, one of the best in the game, and covers the Bears somewhat exclusively, said that a source said, while Indiana is, quote, in the lead, end quote, to lure the Bears across state lines to build a dome stadium, quote, Illinois can still get back in the race, end quote. Courtney Cronin isn't going to put something out like this unless it is legitimate. From what I know of Courtney Cronin, from the way the guys from CHGO and other people around the Bears talk about Courtney Cronin, she is on her shit. So if there's anybody I believe in a story like this with that kind of information, it's a person like Courtney Cronin. So while Indiana is doing their best to get them over to Indiana, they're just in the lead right now. Illinois can still catch up and overtake that. Will they is the biggest question, because right now with the Bears putting out this stadium, I got to say it does take balls to do this from Kevin Warren to really, really, really put the pressure on Illinois lawmakers, on the city of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson, because Brandon Johnson does not want the Bears to leave Chicago. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people do not like Brandon Johnson in Chicago. And it's unfortunate that he has to be the one to deal with this in the last couple of years since he's been elected as mayor. Not to say that he's a great mayor. Again, I don't really live in Chicago. I don't know. But I know that a lot of Chicagoans do not like Mayor Brandon Johnson. So it's unfortunate that he has to go through this. What I will say is, in that interview, it does seem like he really, really does want the Bears to stay in Chicago, whether it be at Soldier Field or whether they can create a deal in which they build a new stadium next to Soldier Field, kind of like the Bills, I believe, were doing in Buffalo with their new stadium, something like that. But again, the Bears want something. And to me, it seems very, very clear what they want. They not only want to own the stadium, but they want to be able to own an entertainment district around the stadium and to get that revenue, as well as not pay property taxes on the damn land. Create that, hey, this is public land, but guess what? We own everything that's on the land, and the city pays the property taxes, or they give them a discount, whatever the situation is. So it does take balls to do this, because now the ball is in the Illinois senators, lawmakers' court or hands, whatever. It puts a lot of pressure on Chicago. It puts a lot of pressure on Illinois, whether it be J.B. Pritzker, whether it be Mayor Brandon Johnson, or the other senators of Illinois. Now, all of this I'm speaking to you guys really as a fan and trying to give you a lot of the specifics on what's going on, even though I don't necessarily fully understand them myself. I just know that there's blame to go across the board. I would hate for the Bears to leave Illinois. I would absolutely hate for the Bears to leave Illinois. I read that, and again, part of me was like, exact site to be determined. There's only one place they would go. That still kind of leaves it somewhat open-ended. But I would hate for the Bears to leave Illinois. It would suck if they become an Indiana State team. Indiana has the Colts already. They've got a Super Bowl. They've had some bad luck, sure, but that doesn't mean they get to take somebody else's team. I do not want them to move to Indiana. It would suck. Would I still be a Bears fan? I've gone through some Reddit threads on Chicago Bears, NFC North Meme More. One second, guys. I'm trying to get my mic fixed here. We go. Okay, there we go. I went through a lot of these Reddit threads, and a lot of these Bears fans on these threads said it would directly affect their fandom. The thing with me is I don't know what other team I would root for. I don't know. I would probably want to stay NFC because, that's where I've been my entire football life. Would I still be a Bears fan? I think I would. Unfortunately, would I buy more Bears merch? I have a lot of Bears merch already. I have a couple jerseys. I don't have a Caleb jersey yet. That might be a thing that I buy. But if they do end up moving to Indiana, that would stop. I don't know if I'd go to a game. I'd try to go to a game at Soldier Field prior to them moving. I would watch them on TV. I would follow them on socials. Possibly I would still be a fan talking about them, live streaming their games. I don't know if I'd go to a game. I don't know how long it would take me to go to a game if I do at some point end up wanting to go to a game. I don't know how long after they make the official move, after there's ground being moved, after there are beams being put in place to put this stadium in. I don't know how long until that very moment I would actually go to a game and buy merch, buy tickets, do things like that. I can tell you right now, if the second that they sign on a dotted line that we are moving Indiana to Hammond, Indiana, to become the Hammond Bears. Ugh. Sorry, I gagged. I just don't know how long it would be. I would probably still watch the Bears because it's been so long since the Bears have been good, and they have Ben Johnson, and they got Caleb Williams, and they've got a lot of really good players on the offense. Hopefully some step up for the defense. But it would be really tough. It would be really tough for me to just continue to support this team. And that's just me being honest right now with the news that broke today. I'll tell you what, like Kevin Warren would never, ever be welcomed in Chicago if this were the case. Now, if the Arlington Heights thing happens, now you get a little bit more like, okay, Illinois, 40 minutes northwest or whatever of Chicago, I can deal with it. Because when you look across the league, a lot of these teams don't even play in the cities in which they, advertise themselves to play. The biggest one that the people point at, one guy was talking about on CHGO was look at the New York Giants and look at the New York Jets. They don't even play in New York. They play in Jersey. I've never taken the time to see how long it takes to get from New York to New Jersey, New York City to Jersey. I don't care enough to do that. I really don't. It's not my city. It's not my team. Who gives a shit? I just know that they've been in Jersey for a long time. And that to me is the thing with them pointing at that and being like, who cares if they play in Indiana? These teams don't even play in the city or even in the states that they're saying they're from. They've been in those places for a very long time. Back when the NFL was nowhere near as popular as it is today, and back when the popularity in terms of fandom, in terms of people, in terms of worldwide fandom was nowhere near what it is today. Over the past 20 years, the NFL has built this monstrosity of a brand called NFL football that has reached out across the world and continues to be the only sport, except for soccer, really, and I don't even follow cricket, but maybe cricket, that is a 24/7, 365 sport. The season itself is September, October, November, December, January, February. It is 5.5 months of football. And yet they have built this brand to be a year-round league. And they've done that over the past 20 years. The NFL, like they had free agency. I remember when the Bears drafted Greg Olsen in 2007, that the draft was the first round would be in like the beginning of the day on Saturday. Now you got the draft starting on Thursday, and only the first round is done on Thursday on day one. And then day 2 is second and third round, and then day 3 is 4th through 7th. I remember when the NFL was like, yeah, let's put the draft on a Saturday at noon Central Time. I remember that. And now it is an event not to miss on Thursday or Friday, whatever the days are. You have international games, which will eventually go to every single week. There will be an international game. You have games on Thursdays. You have games on Wednesdays. You have games on Fridays. Black Friday with the Bears played last week. You got Christmas games that outside of the regular Thanksgiving games, you got Christmas games, you got Black Friday games. The NFL is this just global phenomenon type of brand that they have carefully, at least Roger Goodell has carefully, step by step done. So don't tell me that, the Bears can move to Indiana. Look at all these other teams that have done it. I don't care. The NFL was not the same today or back then as it is today. A move like this is huge. A move like this is just too big to happen, too consequential to happen. I can't sit here and be okay with the Bears moving to Indiana just because the New York Giants and the Jets play in Jersey, or because the Dallas Cowboys aren't really in Dallas. Or I don't know, I'm really not sure what other teams don't play in the city that they advertise they play in. Baltimore, I don't know where they play. I just can't do it. I can't. It's not something that I would sit right with me as a Bears fan for 20 years now. Probably 21 years. We got Romy. I love my Bears. I won't ever go there or buy merch to help these idiots. I'll just watch on TV. Perfect example of what I was just talking about, Romy. Thank you for putting that comment as a Bears fan. Thank you for doing that, because I was saying earlier, and maybe you were here for it, but I was reading Reddit threads of Bears fans across the board saying, I can't be a Bears fan if they move to Indiana. I can still be a Bears fan. It's just once they leave Chicago and once they leave the state of Illinois, I'm no longer buying merch. I don't think I won't. In this podcast, in the history of this podcast, and Kyle wants to join me a little bit later. He's going to let me know, but you can ask him. There was a time about a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, probably about 2 years ago, where the Bears were so ass before Caleb Williams, before Rome, before DJ Moore, where the Bears were such ass that at the end of the season, I did not wear Bears gear until they won five games. Now, I did count the preseason games because I did want to wear Bears merch really bad. But I didn't wear Bears merch that entire offseason until the Bears won all 3 of their preseason games, plus their 2 regular season games. I finally put on a hat. At the end of their second win, I put on a hat. I think I put on a jersey, a sweater, whatever. That's how much I love this team and how critical I am of this team too. Where I wanted to wear merch. I wanted to wear a Bears hat. I wanted to wear a Bears shirt, a sweater, a jersey for so long during that offseason. I was itching to wear something. I really was. And I didn't do it because I said, this team is ass and they do not deserve my fandom. So I can and will not buy merch if they move to Indiana. I will watch them. I won't go to the stadium for however long I don't go. I can't say what I'll do in the future or what I'll be 5 years from now in 2030s or whatever, if they move to Indiana and be like, I've never gone to a game in Indiana. I don't know how long it would be. George and Kevin will hear boos this season and the rest of their time playing at Soldier Field. Yes, they absolutely will. Anytime you see them, you will hear boos. George loves to walk the parking lot at Soldier Field and talk to fans. My friend has actually met him, shook his hand, said what's up. And he's an older man, said what's up. He's being very cordial. He umps like Little League baseball in his downtime, but this is like the last straw, man. This is the one that's going to break the camel's back in terms of anybody liking George McCaskey. And it's sad because my friend said that he's a super cool guy. He talked to him. George McCaskey talked to them for a couple of minutes while they were tailgating. And, ever since, unfortunately, Virginia McCaskey, the daughter of George Halas, passed away, this team has really kind of turned a new leaf under his leadership. And a lot of the speculation prior to that was maybe it was like him trying to just continue to keep the way his mom ran the team that way, and then she passed away, and then he's like, okay, you know what? I think now is my time to really put my stamp on this team, and he has. And look what the Bears have done. They got to the playoffs. They beat the Packers in a wild card game. They had an epic game against the Rams. They spent money on Ben Johnson. They brought in Kevin Warren for all of his faults, these past couple of years. They brought in people who can make stuff happen for the Bears. A lot of the negativity around how they ran their organization was a mom and pop shop. And it's true. They didn't spend a lot of money. They never really went against the high priced free agents. You have a couple here and there, Julius Peppers, Khalil Mack, Jay Cutler. But now it's taking a much bigger turn with George McCaskey at the helm. Just sell to a rich person and get a stadium built and not move us out of Illinois. And honestly, like when the Bears were really that bad, Romy, I was a person who was yelling, sell the team. George McCaskey, sell the team. Because that's how infuriated I was with the Bears at that point in time. And we got Crafty in the chat. The Indiana Bears? I hope not, Crafty. I hope not. And also, I took the last comment you said on the last stream with Kyle and I to heart. We got to stream more. You're absolutely correct. There's no reason why you should be paying us any money for us to not stream on a more consecutive basis. So Crafty, I know maybe you were saying it, kind of like like a bit sarcastically, but I know there's truth there, and I'm gonna make it my mission to do more streaming because of a person like you who pays a membership fee to be a member of this channel and expects some sort of entertainment and streaming from us. So I took that to heart, and I took that to heart in a very good way, which is why I'm streaming today. Also because of the Bears news, but mostly because of you. Take that C off your helmet and make it an I. Oh God, no. So I care about this team a lot as a fan. I didn't wear merch for a long time. I criticized the hell out of the Bears. I'm still superstitious about everything the Bears do. And this just makes it so much worse after so many years. And you're talking about me, who's only been a fan for 21 years. You talk about people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s who have been fans for much longer than I've been born. Much longer than I am living on this earth. It's just sad because I take it this hard. I took the Super Bowl loss hard. I take everything very, very hard for this team, and I pour a lot of my time into watching this team, talking about this team, watching videos, press conferences. I'm gonna buy both copies of the Madden game this year because a Bears quarterback, Caleb Williams, is on the cover. That's what I do for this team. I buy merch, I buy hats, I do all this stuff. I live and die with this team, unfortunately, and they want to take them to Indiana. And I think this is the sentiment of a lot of Bears fans. I would be surprised to hear diehard Bears fans be okay with moving to Indiana until it actually happened. At least when it happened, it's just like, yeah, we can't do anything. But also, like, for them to just be okay with it, part of me wants to call them not a fan, but I don't know. They're probably just as passionate as I am. They probably criticize this team as bad as I do. They probably live and die with every down like I do. So I can't criticize them in that fact. I just criticize them in the fact that they don't care that they can move to Indiana. One upside is the Bears fans won't have to dodge as many bullets on their way to the stadium. Well, Crafty, you got to go through the south side. Yeah, you've got it. Yeah, there's an expressway that goes down to Hammond, Indiana, and like, I get where you're going with this. It's funny, but it's just it's the same thing. I don't know, man. It really, really, like, it's embarrassing to be honest. Yeah, it really is, because the whole league is looking at the Bears right now being like, you guys are really moving to Indiana? Everybody's already comfortable with the Jets and the Giants being in New Jersey. Who cares? Who cares? They've been there forever. And I've already got on my spiel about how long the league's been around with them being there. Who cares? The new stadium will be home of the Cracker Barrel Indiana Bears. Look, that's very funny. I just can't, man. I think now a lot of people, Adam Schefter, a lot of people are very much like, it's basically a done deal. Like, the Bears are moving to Indiana. With Courtney Cronin's source about Illinois can get back in the lead. Again, I do think this is like the Bears organization really putting the Illinois state senators or lawmakers, politicians, they're putting their balls in a vice, to put it mildly. They're putting their balls in a vice to be like, look, we're leaving, bro. Indiana gave us damn near exactly what we wanted, and somehow you guys are saying that you don't know what we want, and yet Indiana has given us exactly what we wanted, which is why we put out this statement. So it really, at the end of the day, now falls on Illinois politicians. It really, really does fall on Illinois politicians to do something about it. They went all the way up to 4 a.m. the other day to pass legislature to let them stay in Illinois or to do something in Chicago, and they didn't vote on it. They decided not to vote on it because in their minds, they called the Bears bluff. They're like, okay, move to Indiana. We're not voting on this. Y'all move. Y'all make the next move. Ball's in your court. Well, Kevin Warren and George McCaskey have now put the ball in your court. Illinois politicians, Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago. The ball is now in y'all's court to see what the next move is. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. I root for teams in my state, not other states. I know I stayed up for that bullshit. You did, Romy? Oh, man, that I'm surprised. Like, I think 4 a.m. was 2 a.m. my time here on the West Coast. So I don't even know if I would have stayed up till 2 a.m., to be honest. Props to you. Props to you for staying up for that shit. Yeah. This is where the Bears are right now. This is where the politicians are at right now. And I'm not, I just don't know what to think. I can just give you guys my opinion on being a Bears fan and how much I would hate for them to move to Indiana. I really would. And again, this is just like, I blame ex-mayor Beetlejuice. And I think she kind of caught the at the tail end of her mayorship. She caught at the tail end of her mayorship the beginning of that process, the beginning of those conversations. Crafty. So honestly, I'm sure, like, because she had gotten a lot of shit. I forget her name, the mayor we had, but she had gotten a lot of shit during her mayorship too. Whether it be dealing with teachers unions, having to take on debt, all sorts of things. She was, under a lot of fire, and that's why eventually she's like, nah, I ain't doing this anymore. And now Brandon Johnson is the one kind of taking this on and being like, I want the Bears to stay here. He's a Chicagoan through and through, and I want the Bears to stay here. So, I feel bad for them, honestly. I really do. I'm pissed off too, and I'm not even a Bears fan. Stay in Illinois. Thank you, my eye. Thank you. If there's no summer secession, it's over. Yeah, if there isn't, yeah, because that's one of the things too, is there's got to be something in the summer where these politicians get together, senators, House reps get together and figure out a way on how to keep them in Illinois. If not Chicago, at least in Illinois. Would I love for them to be in Chicago? Yeah, absolutely. But there's an organization called Friends of the Parks who are like, no, we're not going to let you build this, entertainment district around a Chicago public park. And to an extent, I really do appreciate kind of like them putting their foot down and be like, no, you're not taking over green space where the public can kind of enjoy themselves. Right? Because I think the public, Chicagoans, especially in that beautiful lakefront during the summer, oh, beautiful, beautiful lakefront. That should be open to the public all summer, at all times. Like there's no, I would not argue against that. Friends of the Parks does great. They do great things. And one of those things is to keep public parks, public land open to the public. I love that. So they won't budge in that sense. They can't have their own stadium. They can't own their own land to build other things to bring in more revenue. But they should have gotten this figured out years ago. Now, the lease that they bought, that they signed with Soldier Field, runs out in 2033. They can buy themselves out of that, obviously. And a lot of the issues with Soldier Field that a lot of Chicagoans know about is during the summer and even fall, early fall when it's still somewhat nice out and not blistering cold like it gets in basically end of October, November time in Chicago, at least from what I remember, is they have events there. They have concerts, meaning that grass gets fucked up. And it has to be a quick turnaround for these maintenance people for a game the next day. I remember just last season, there was like a Metallica concert on Saturday, and then there's a Bears game on Sunday. So the field was like shitty. It was wet. It was sloppy. So there was like a huge thing there. And part of the reason why I'm okay with them moving to Arlington Heights, and yeah, I was a little mad about it at first because it is just like where Soldier Field is located on the lakefront is just so beautiful. It's so picturesque. Is because of that. Yes, do you want to hold events at your dome stadium year round? I totally get that. Bring in more revenue, brings in more money, brings in free agents, right? But it also allows you to bring in other big sporting events, Final Fours, NCAA tournaments, other concerts, the Super Bowl being one of them, which would be a huge revenue intake for the Bears, would be to host the Super Bowl, which is what they were trying to do with the stadium deal for Arlington Heights or whatever. They were trying to put in their bid for the 2031 Super Bowl by building a dome stadium. That's what they wanted to do. And I get that. I totally do. Because if you're not using a racetrack and it's not public land, buy it up, build your stadium, do it that way. Create an environment that brings in money to that area, not only to the Bears, but to the area. And then you create jobs, 9,000 permanent jobs from what Kevin Warren and the Bears have said with that stadium project in Arlington Heights. You bring in jobs, you bring in a economy with the Bears and restaurants and bars and all that stuff. As long as you're not messing with public land that's accessible to the public. It's a brilliant move, and again, you don't have to deal with the Chicago public park system being like, oh yeah, we're holding an event at Soldier Field, by the way, since it's our stadium. Figure it out. Yeah, the event is Saturday at 7 p.m. and it goes until about 11 p.m. So you've got 12 hours to basically, probably less, to turn over that field into a playable field for the Bears and their opponent. Time and time again, teams and players have come in and been like, Soldier Field sucks for playing in, especially after an event like that. So I get it, right? I get it. I do. Would you want to play on turf? Probably not. A lot of players complain about that too. So now you're talking about safety with the players, but you're also still talking about safety even with grass after an event, and you got to turn that over. Chicago is trying to outdo California in terms of political inaction. Chicago's been like that, and really the state of Illinois has been like that, Crafty. I was saying earlier, like if you're from Illinois, you kind of know that how crooked politics can be in Illinois. So that's the unfortunate part. Indiana already has the cuts. No more states with multiple teams. Yeah, has the Colts. No more states with multiple teams. I agree. That's what I was saying earlier. I was like, can we not? They have the Colts. They have a Super Bowl. They beat the Bears. To give Indiana the Bears is like, not only did we beat you in the Super Bowl, we took your team from you. And I was saying this earlier, Crafty, Mile High. The city of Hammond, Indiana is shaped like an L. And I'm going to share my screen here to show you guys what this looks like. Let's see. Share screen. Share. You guys see this? Look at that. Hold on. This is Hammond, Indiana. From here, I'm going to outline it right here. Down here, here. Why is no one talking about how Hammond, Indiana is shaped like an L? Why is nobody talking about that? It's shaped like a fucking L. Why would you want to move to your Chicago Bears to a city that's shaped like an L? And now when we zoom in, this is the golf course that they would be taking over. lake here, a bunch of golf course stuff there. This is the only viable place. You got a bunch of factories over here. You got just a bunch of BS. And that's not even Hammond. Like, here's a neighborhood up here. There's the golf course. Here's some manufacturing stores, property. Some more neighborhoods down here. You've got where was the airport? The Hammond Chicago airport, by the way. I think it's like up here or something. I saw it earlier. Anyway, like, what? There's only one place. Why is exact site to be selected part of that statement that they put out? So literally there will never be a Super Bowl in Chicago ever. Probably not. Probably not. The move isn't official, I think. It's not official in the sense of they've signed anything. It is official in the sense that they put out a statement. And if you go back on this stream, Mile High, I was talking about how Kevin Warren has done this with the Minnesota Vikings. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, it's all corrupt. 100%. Wow, Chicago is way better than that place. Agreed. Could not agree more. Could not agree more. So, on top of it being another state, the city is shaped like an L. You don't want to move to a city shaped like an L. You don't. You really don't. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. I really don't. But this is the world which we live in as Bears fans right now. The statement was put out today. Everybody is freaking out about what this means and whether it is legitimate or not. I really do think it is the final bluff by Kevin Warren and the Chicago Bears. I really, really do. They've put out the statement. They've got the legislature from Indiana in their favor. Indiana's giving them whatever they want. Property tax incentives, no property tax to be paid, public land to build whatever they want, in which they will own eventually at some point. And Illinois and Chicago has not done anything. And they could have gotten a lot of this done a long time ago. When I got home from work today, earlier this afternoon, my wife, as we were eating some food I brought home, she's like, and she like starts to rub my arm and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh my God, what? She's like, the Bears. And I was like, yeah. And it was just, and that's when I decided, I was like, I have to stream, because this is a big thing. And I know it's only football and we talk about the NFL, but this is a huge story, whether you're a Bears fan or not. And it seems like, at least Mile High, Crafty, you guys seem to care a bit, right? At least stay in Illinois, 100%. Killed my season buzz. Absolutely. It killed the Madden cover of Caleb Williams buzz. I was talking earlier about Kevin Warren and his affinity for giving out updates at the worst possible time. And this is one of them. So this is where we're at right now. State of the Chicago Bears, as a fan, as a franchise. This is where we're at. This is where we're at, guys. So that's kind of all I've got. I've been a Bears fan since 83. Romy, oh my God. See, like, this is what I'm talking about, guys. There are people like Romy who have been fans since before I was born. I was born in 91. Romy has been a fan 7, 8, 9, 8 years prior to me being born. I've been a fan since about 05. At least from what I remember, the first game I watched. And there's people who have been fans longer than I've been alive that feel with this team, that heartbreak with this team, that cheer with this team as much as I do, who have been doing it a lot longer. Romy, at least you got to watch the only Super Bowl. Illinois is big. You can't tell me you can't find land to build a stadium in Chicago or Illinois. Yes. Yes, Mile High. Yes, 100%. Now 53. Romy, I don't believe you're 53. You look at least 27. So that's kind of where we're at, man. We either go to Arlington Heights and the Bears finally do what they were planning on doing at Arlington Heights since 2022, I think is when they bought and leased the land. Or we go to a city in another state that is shaped like an L. The city of Hammond, Indiana is shaped like a huge L for loser, for loss, for losing. Those seem to be the only two options. And I don't love Hammond, Indiana. I like Arlington Heights. I don't love it, but I like it a lot more than Hammond, Indiana. So that's where I'm at as a Bears fan. And Romy, I'm sure you're right there as well. This is just huge news. Adam Schefter, I think, was the one who broke the news. But I keep reading a lot of good things from, again, I mentioned her name, Courtney Cronin from ESPN, about a source that said Illinois can still take over the lead and make a jump, for it. So I'm really hoping that Illinois politicians can do this and can make another push for the Bears to stay in Illinois at the minimum. If they stay in Chicago on the lakefront, awesome. Does it suck to get out of Soldier Field? Yes. But I'd much rather have that picturesque lakefront property than to be in Hammond, Indiana, that is shaped like an L. I'm not going to let this go. Hammond, Indiana, city limits are in the shape of an L. This is what you want to put next to the Bears logo, an L? Illinois, get your shit together. Keep the Bears in Illinois. And if you can, keep them in Chicago. But I will take Arlington Heights. Thank you guys so much for being here and letting and listening to me ramble on about the Bears and what's been going on with them. I do want to hit a couple things though too, that we didn't get to on the last episode because Kyle and I got into this huge argument about Caleb Williams on the cover of Madden. But a couple things here. Christian Watson, the wide receiver for the Packers. God, I go straight from Bears leaving Indiana straight to the Packers. Packers and the wide receiver Christian Watson reach $110.5 million extension. 4 years, includes $31 million signing bonus. And this was after Jaden Reed signed the 3-year, $50 million extension in April. So for the most part, the Packers have got their wide receiving core, although Christian Watson has had an injury bug over the last couple of seasons and really throughout his entire career. They think it's still a good enough move to keep him as wide receiver 1 or wide receiver really good number 2 for over $100 million for the next 4 years. I know it's dramatic, but I hate my sports life right now. Yeah, Romy, I'm right there with you. The curse has started. Oh my God. It really has. The Madden curse has stayed alive. You are correct, Romy. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. So the Packers have got their wide receiver room pretty much intact. Also, AJ Brown, something we didn't get to the last episode that Kyle and I were here. AJ Brown was traded to the Patriots. This was a move that has been not only speculated, but basically predicted to happen months ago. The Diana Rossini thing kind of like was one of those things that kind of pushed it more. Obviously, the whole Vrabel thing and Diana Rossini thing was even more of a AJ Brown's going to the Patriots. What I did find interesting though, there was a Twitter thread from a burner account, and this is all secondhand. I'm getting from a podcast I listen to called Part of My Take, that says that AJ Brown would leak stories to the media last season in order to light a fire under the team because he didn't think that they were inspired enough. They had just come off a Super Bowl win. He didn't think they were inspired enough that all the things he was saying throughout the season, the offense isn't firing on all cylinders like they should. And now it came out that he was one person who was leaking stories out to the media in order to light a fire under this team. That's one thing. The other thing, and I know I'm not really getting to the trade right now, but I just thought this was super interesting because the Patriots, I think, should know what they're getting, and I think they do. But another story that came out was that this one I don't know if I truly believe, but AJ Brown would go to a masseuse to get massages, obviously. He was hooking up with that masseuse, apparently. Whether it was a full-on relationship in his eyes or whether it was more so we're just having sex, having fun, whatever. He found out that his teammate at the time, Hassan Reddick, was also going to that masseuse and also hooking up with that masseuse. He found out that Jalen Hurts knew about it. And if we go back to when AJ Brown was traded to the Eagles, he said, I get to play with my best friend, Jalen Hurts. So this whole rift between them over the last season seems to stem from that story, and which was also a reason why Hassan Reddick was traded. Now, I don't know how true that one is. I think it's an entertaining one. I kind of like the story. I think it's fun to believe that. I think it's fun to tell that story and to hear that story and to believe it. Is it true? Probably not. Probably not. But who knows? But he took a little bit of what's the word? He was just angry about it, that his best friend, Jalen Hurts, knew and didn't tell him about it, which is what caused that whole rift between them this past last season. But the Patriots are getting a legit wide receiver now. They lose Stephon Diggs. Drake May is a legit wide receiver. He's got Boutte. He's got Matt Collins. And that's probably is going to be his main 1, 2, 3 right there in terms of wide receivers. He's got Hunter Henry as his tight end. And he's coming off a year in which he was a runner-up to the MVP award. He's coming off a year in which he completed 75% of his passes. He's coming off a year in which he went to the Super Bowl. The playoffs, he didn't really perform that well, and it was pretty obvious that the Patriots defense was a huge reason as to why they got to the NFL, but at least now, or to the Super Bowl, but at least now with AJ Brown there, is he a bit of a head case? Can he be a little dramatic? Can he, do say this and say that to the media? Yes. Is he an outstanding athlete and an obvious wide receiver one who can go downfield, catch contested catches, get touchdowns, and be an overall offensive weapon? Yeah. You got to take the pros and the cons with someone like that, especially when your quarterback just accomplished all those things the season prior, got to the Super Bowl, all under Mike Vrabel, had one of the best defenses in the league, had the best completion percentage in the league last year. And for now is like from the 2023 draft class, one of those quarterbacks. Like it's him, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix that are like out of those 6 quarterbacks taken, the other 2 being JJ McCarthy and Penix. Those 4 guys have all been at least to a divisional round game. Bo Nix led the Broncos to the AFC Championship. Unfortunately, he couldn't play because he broke his ankle. Jaden Daniels went to the NFC Championship and lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles. And Drake May just last year went to the Super Bowl. 4 quarterbacks from that 23 draft class in their first 2 years in the league have gone to at least the divisional round in the playoffs. 3 out of those 4 have gone to the conference championship game, and 1 out of those 4 has gone to the Super Bowl. You could make an argument, Mile High, by the way, that Bo Nix, had he not broken his ankle, could have gone to the Super Bowl. We would have seen I'm sorry. I was about to say two the 23 draft class quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. No. It would have been, you could make an argument that Bo Nix and the Broncos could have gone to the Super Bowl had Bo Nix not broken his ankle against the Patriots or against the Bills and would have played the Patriots in the conference championship. We could be talking about Bo Nix, the last quarterback taken in that draft class, going to the Super Bowl in year 2. So, yeah, Drake May finally gets a wide receiver 1 after a great season. So that was a couple things that we didn't get to last time. And now there's another thing. There was one thing that was very funny. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. is back in New York. He has signed a deal with the Giants. He is now a New York Giant, where it all began, where he had the one-handed catch, one of the best catches of all time in the NFL. You when you think of OBJ, you think of that, and then you think of his Super Bowl win with the Rams a few seasons ago, I should say. Other things that are kind of brand new, somewhat new, unfortunately. Bucks and Baker Mayfield contract talks not anywhere close with the Bucks. Baker Mayfield said the contract extension talks are not anywhere close to what we're thinking, and that it's time to get something done long term. I would agree with that. I would agree that the Bucks, this is their best option right now. Unless, of course, they don't want to do it. They kind of suck. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think Baker Mayfield is their best option unless they draft somebody. Really, right? Like unless they draft somebody next draft. But yeah, that's kind of what I think they should do. Long term, man, that's tough because I know Baker Mayfield wants to obviously have a long-term deal, and he's kind of shown that he's worth it, because he plays out pretty damn well with the Bucks. He's been playing very, very well with the Bucks. It's just more so like, what is that? The NFC South, have they won the division? Yeah, they are consistently winning the division. They're the ones who are consistently winning the division. And they just haven't been able to do anything in the playoffs. I think this past year was the first season that they did not win, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to look at the standings real quick. NFC South. Yep, it was the Carolina Panthers with an 8-9 record. I think it was the final game of the season. Oh, Mile High, Waddle is better than AJ Brown. Actually, I'm glad you brought this up, actually, because when this trade happened, kind of I didn't really talk about it because it did happen a little bit after kind of the free agency and all that stuff, where the Broncos had to give up their first round pick of the draft for Jalen Waddle. Now, if Kyle was here, he would be talking about this, because we did last episode, we did agree to kind of talk about this because we didn't really get to touch on it. And Kyle, being a Broncos fan, just like you, Mile High, he wants to talk about this stuff. Absolutely. And I think it's a huge addition to this wide receiver room. Courtland Sutton, wide receiver 1 on the Broncos, not necessarily a Jalen Waddle wide receiver 1. When you think of wide receiver 1s, you don't really think of Courtland Sutton. Like he's been a wide receiver 1 on the Broncos for the most part, and they brought in Jerry Jeudy to kind of really be that wide receiver 1 from Alabama. Clearly that didn't work out, and they shipped him to the Browns. But Courtland Sutton, he makes some ridiculous catches, but he also drops a lot of like easy balls. And I think Kyle would agree. Mile High, I think you would agree with that as well. Courtland Sutton, when Russ was there, he made some incredible catches in the end zone. But he just had some drops that were very, very puzzling. Kind of reminds me of Olamide Zaccheaus when he was with the Bears last season, like he just had some drops where I was just like, I can't believe he just dropped that ball. Pat Bryant, yeah, he's a good option too. I think, fantastic rookie year. If he could build off of that, and he's got a guy like Jalen Waddle to kind of keep all the big defenders off of him. I think he's going to benefit from that. Pat Bryant, Illinois guy too. That's how I know Pat Bryant. He's a University of Illinois guy. All right, so that's a lot of the stuff that's been going on. Obviously, a majority of this was the Bears putting out that statement talking about leaving Indiana. And as a Bears fan, I felt like I just needed to talk about it, but I did want to sprinkle in some more NFL news there for all you guys who are tuning in, not necessarily worried about the Bears moving to Indiana, but want to keep up with some of the news from around the NFL. It is a 365, 24/7 league. So we are here on Only Football covering that. And like I was saying earlier to one of our members, Crafty, I need to do a better job of coming on here and streaming more. There's been a lot of life changes for both Kyle and I. Kyle is just had a newborn child a few months ago, so he's dealing with that job. His partner. I've switched jobs over. So we've had a lot of life changes over these past few months, which has kind of hurt the streaming, but my job is a lot better. I am only mornings now, which is fucking sweet. Even in the food industry, I'm only mornings, which is awesome. So that means more of the afternoons left over for me to stream. And Kyle, because he's got a newborn, zero pressure, Kyle. I don't think we should be giving Kyle any pressure at all to stream more, because when he streams, we stream. We go for it, man. Him and I, he even does it at work when he can. And we'll get together and do all this. But he's got a newborn child. He's dad hat on all the time. So we got to make sure that he does not feel any pressure to come on and do any of this, because he is literally nurturing the life of a small human being to be a great person, just like Kyle is. So no pressure on Kyle. We should not ever give any pressure on Kyle, because he has got a lot on his plate, obviously. But when he streams, man, he goes all in, and not only for the Broncos, but for this channel. But I just want to give you guys that update, because I definitely have time and could be able to do more streaming. It's almost football season again. Time sure flies. It's only June, Mile High, but yes, I enjoy the summer, but I love football season. So I remember saying this earlier, but it's like, I love summer so much, and I love football season so much. I just hate the temperature during football season, and I hate the lack of football during the summer. So yeah, but I'm right there with you. I love talking football, and it just gives me that itch of like wanting to see football again. But I just want to give you guys that update that I'll definitely be on here more, trying to do more shorts, trying to do more reactions, and definitely trying to put out more content in terms of like long form video for you guys. But thank you guys to everybody who was here. Mile High. We had Romy here, or Romy, however you say it. Crafty obviously was here. Daniel Barry on earlier. We had Nash. Gianni was here. Jack Nitro. Who else was here? Kelvin. A lot of you guys tuning in today. Please remember to hit that like button and on the stream, and make sure to subscribe to this channel, because we will be streaming some more in the rest of the off season up until the season, where we stream all Bears games, all Broncos games, all primetime games for the most part. But yeah, hit that subscribe button and follow us on X at Only Football Pod, and go follow Kyle at NFL with Kyle on X. Obviously, subscribe to us here on YouTube, like this video, like any video that you've been watching. And if you guys want some entertainment, some real Stephen A. Smith and the other guy he used to battle out with, check out our last live stream under our live tab on our channel to see Kyle and I go, blow for blow on Caleb Williams on the Madden cover. It's very entertaining in my opinion. And we've done this before. So don't think that he's not on here because of that. We've done this before with the Lamar Jackson debate, and it a lot of people enjoy it. Nash, I think, was here, and he's like, man, I need to come on this stream more often. So it's very entertaining for everybody, I think. Just us talking about that. And I'm going to try to make that into a long form video here this weekend, if not next week, but for everybody's entertainment. So go check that out. Go check out our other live streams, all of our other long form videos and our shorts. We would really appreciate it. You could follow me on TikTok actually too, because I do put some content on there as well. Yo, Rick _, and I'm actually going to put it here on a banner for you guys. If you guys want to obviously follow me on TikTok, I'm Rick. Perfect. So that is my TikTok, because I put some Bear stuff on there, and one of the things I put on there recently was like the Cardinals schedule and how they're screwed, how they may not win a game within the first 7 weeks. But yeah, go check out my TikTok right here. Yo, I'm Rick, and go follow us on X. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We appreciate it always. And this is always for our boy Bill. R.I.P. Bill. Long live Bill Hartnett, one of our greatest supporters since we started this channel. Bill, we always miss you. So this goes out to him. And again, to all of you guys who were here, thank you again so much. We will be back next week, at least the earliest that I can think of that I will stream will be next week. Thank you guys again for being here. Appreciate you guys letting me ramble about the Chicago Bears. And as always a good time, guys. Always a good time.